Some of you probably noticed the addition of a miniature American flag on my set. While it's true that American fighters no longer dominate boxing the way they historically had, American fans can still take comfort in the fact that the two most talented boxers in the world today are both American. Floyd Money Mayweather and Andre SOG Ward. This is Rummy's Corner. I think Andre Ward should follow the lead of Apollo Creed when it comes to patriotic ring attire.
The one and only Apollo Creed.
Andre SOG Ward made his long-awaited return to the ring on Saturday night when he squared off against British fighter Paul Smith. The bout, which was televised on BET, was scheduled to take place at a catch weight of 172 pounds. Smith missed weight by nearly 4.5 pounds. He also missed weight the next morning on the rehydration clause, but none of this mattered. Andre Ward proved to be several classes above Paul Smith. And this wasn't exactly surprising, but after a really long layoff, Andre Ward looked really good. And in this particular bout, his weapon of choice was the jab. He used the jab exceptionally well in this fight against Smith. He was often shooting it straight down the middle, where time and time again, Ward managed to split the guard of Paul Smith with pinpoint precision. It was truly a masterclass exhibition of the jab at play. And Ward was using single jabs, he was doubling it up, and he was even tripling it up at time, following it up with a variety of punches, usually a right hand, but Ward also was doing a good job working the body in this fight. He thoroughly outclassed Smith in every facet of the game. The one moment where Smith had some success was in the 7th round, where he seemed to buzz Andre pretty good with a nice shot that Ward wasn't expecting. And I don't know if it was just a good trap set by Paul Smith, or if Ward was having such an easy time in there that maybe he got a little careless, but Smith buzzed him good, and then he followed it up in the same round. He had a couple of more good shots, but other than that, at the end of the fight, his face was a bloody mess. Ward was really doing a number on him, and in the 9th round, his corner mercifully stopped the fight, and after 19 months out of the ring, he looked sensational. It was almost as good a performance as when Floyd Mayweather Jr. came out of retirement to fight Juan Manuel Marquez. It was that good on the part of Andre Ward, didn't appear to show any major ring rust, and now the question becomes, where does he go from here? Now, Ward has a lot of options at the present time. There are a lot of possibilities out there for him at 168, at 175, and I think depending on how things unfold and which opportunities present themselves, Ward can go in a number of different directions. But there are 5 opponents in particular that boxing fans seem most interested in seeing Ward square off against. And those 5 guys will start with middleweight Gennady Golovkin. Now, in my opinion, out of the 5 guys I'm about to go through, Golovkin is the easiest one for Ward. That's not to say I don't think Gennady's a good fighter. I think he's very talented. I think he has exceptional skills and very underrated ring IQ. But I think the size difference will prove to be far too much for him. And I think aside from power, Gennady has nothing on Ward. Number 2 on the list would be Carl the Cobra Froch. Now with Froch, Ward already beat him, and he beat him decisively, and he beat a version of the Cobra that was much closer to his prime, or in his prime, than the more recent version of the Cobra, who seems to be on his way out the door. I think this is another fight that Ward would win again, and I think he'd probably do it in more dominant fashion than he did the first time around. I still think overall, due to his size, his experience, and his just workmanlike attitude towards the sport, that Froch would give Ward a tougher fight than Golovkin, but I don't think he'd give him as tough of a fight as he did the last time he faced Ward. So that's another fight that I think Ward wins. Then you have the light heavyweights, and this is where things get trickier for Ward, in my opinion. Unlike the smaller Golovkin and the equal-sized Froch, you have guys like Beterbiev and Adonis Stevenson, both of whom have exceptional power up at 175, the likes of which I don't think Ward has seen anything close to in the professional ranks. But in those cases, I think Ward does a lot of things better than these two, and I think these are fights that Ward could and probably would win. Beterbiev, real strong guy, really determined, he's got the power, he's got some skills, but I think he's a little too slow, a little too clumsy, and a little too lacking in a really good jab to trouble Ward much. I give Beterbiev a puncher's chance against Ward. And then Adonis Stevenson, I give him maybe a little bit more of a puncher's chance against Ward, only because he's a lot more athletic than Beterbiev. So I could see him maybe getting Ward out early when he starts fast, Adonis, but I don't really think either guy has more than a puncher's chance. And this isn't to say that I don't think any of these guys could beat Ward. I just don't think it's likely. And for Stevenson and Beterbiev, puncher's chance. But then we get to the real target here. The fight that I think ought to excite boxing fans more than any other potentially on the horizon. And that's Sergey Kovalev. Now, Kovalev also has tremendous power. Arguably, he's more powerful than Stevenson and more powerful than Beterbiev, although I think you could make a case in putting those three in any order, but be that as it may, what, in my opinion, separates Kovalev from Beterbiev and from Adonis Stevenson, and separates him even more from guys like Froch and Golovkin, I think what separates Kovalev is he has very good skills, and he's shown an ability to be very disciplined and very efficient at controlling the range. And for Kovalev, one of the things that gets overlooked about him, everybody talks about his power, and he's got really good footwork, because even doing such a thorough job against a 50-year-old or a 49-year-old Bernard Hopkins, that's no easy feat. He knows how to move around the ring, and he knows how to control distance. That's something I think Ward does better than anybody in the game right now. But Kovalev's got a really good jab, he's got the good feet, and he's got the tremendous power, and when he's focused, he could stick to a game plan really well. He did it against Hopkins. In his fight against Pascal, I didn't think he was quite as focused as he was against Hopkins, maybe because he was in there with a guy that doesn't have the ring IQ and the craftiness of a Hopkins, but whatever the case may be, Kovalev knows what he's doing. And for a long time, I thought Andre Ward would beat anyone south of cruiserweight for the foreseeable future. This was a few years back. But now, with the emergence of Kovalev, I'm not so sure anymore. And if there's one guy out there, south of cruiserweight, who I'd be willing to put in as a slight favorite against Andre Ward, it would be Sergey Kovalev. But this is a fight I would love to see. It's the classic puncher-boxer matchup, but there's a lot of other things going on here, and I think it could turn out being, unexpectedly, a real chess match between master technicians. And out of all the fights, Pacquiao Mayweather's in the rearview mirror. Some people out there, they're excited for Cotto Canelo, and that's a pretty good fight. But Kovalev, Ward, that's the fight. It might be a year down the road, might be 2 years down the road. I think there's a chance we'll ultimately see it, and I think that's the fight that could define this generation. This is Rumsfeld. Thank you for tuning in. Please stay tuned for more episodes in the future. And I wasn't kidding about Andre Ward taking a page from the playbook of the master of disaster, the king of Sting, the Count of Monte Fisto, the one and only Apollo Creed.
In the blue corner, weighing 221 pounds, a former heavyweight champion of the world, the dancing destroyer, the king of Sting, the Count of Monte Fisto.
Yo, you think you got enough names?
Patience, David. Almost done.
The master of disaster, the one and only Apollo Creed.
The crowd anticipating a great fight now as Apollo is in the ring. He's playing to the crowd.